Okay, today's video diary of a year in a motorhome in the UK. It's Friday the 26th of January 2024. This day every other week is always a bit sad. This is when Arthur is back with his mum for the week. Arthur's with each of us for a week at a time from Friday to Friday. It's just a bit sad. It's been a couple of years since we separated. Doesn't mean it was easy. The most difficult thing I've ever had to do, the thought of only being with Arthur half my life, and as he gets older he may well want to go off with his friends, so I'll be with Arthur even less. It's great progress that I'm not crying but it is still sad. I miss him. He's one of my friends. I do the things I love to do because Arthur loves to do them, but with Arthur I actually get to do extra things that I just wouldn't do on my own or with my friends. Digging on the beach for hours. Probably I should do, shouldn't I? If it's something I like to do, I should do it, but it's just not the sort of thing I'm going to do on my own on the beach, all that sort of stuff, and it just makes life interesting and fun. He's helped me to remember to have fun and to see the world through with a child's mind. I'm not talking Arthur down. That is obviously a thing. It's the beginner's mind versus the expert's mind. In the beginner's mind, there are opportunities and excitement. In the expert's mind, there are limitations. So these days, always feel a bit down. I think about having a beer. That for me still is. I still get a craving for a beer when I'm feeling down. But I know the science behind that craving, and I often, almost always, talk myself out of it, because I know the science behind that craving and I don't want to give in to that craving for it. So that's that. But yeah, and I so that's where good things come in and occupy my time. Like I've just done 45 minutes of yoga. Let's say I did 45 minutes of yoga or 45 minutes of drinking. 45 minutes of yoga, after that I'm going to feel nothing but good. That's good and positive long-term happiness. 45 minutes of drinking, I might feel pretty fucking good for the 45 minutes and a bit after, but then after that and the next day I'm going to totally regret it. That said, I will occasionally, when I get together with my mate Steve, or if I'm with my mum, have a few beers or a glass of wine, because it's a special occasion. And I'm not saying alcohol is a reward, but if you're good most of your life, you're allowed a bit of junk. So that's when I would do that. What I love about tonight, I'm just going to turn the lights off. I'm not sure how much you're going to be able to see. I'm just going to pick up the camera. It is an absolutely stunning night, and what I love about the motorhome, look at that through the skylight. Now, it's not a very clear picture through the motorhome. That is the moon. Let's just turn around for a second. Again, I'm going to see how much we can see by going outside, but it has been a full moon this week, and let's have a look what we can see. Look at that. That is absolutely stunning, and you probably can't recognise any of this, but I'm parked at the new place. My new friend who kindly knocked on the motorhome. Knocked on the motorhome. We spoke about it on one of the other video diaries, so I've agreed with him just to come and have a go. And this is something else, that separation and finding myself. I'm really working hard on myself and my thoughts and feelings, emotions, my actions and reactions, and spending time with Arthur. All of those things combined have taught me to have a much more laid back approach to life. In the past, no matter what it was, I would have been planning 400 steps in the future and probably through to retirement. That's just absolutely insane, because I'm investing my energy on almost 100% of something that doesn't even exist yet. The future isn't real. What's real is now, and absolutely I need to have a nod to the future. But what's important is what I do now and then the next step. And really, that's it. After that, who knows what's going to happen. So yeah, this is one good example. So Kate came over and had a look at the plot earlier in the week with Arthur, and then the guy's like, "Oh, do you think you'd want to come and stay and keep an eye on the place and do a few jobs?" And I'm like, you know what? Let me talk to Arthur once we shoot off, because then Arthur can give me his honest opinion, rather than feeling pressured to give an answer there and then. So we shot off, and Arthur is cautious. So I'm like, "What do you think?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know really." And I'm like, "Do you know what? I think we give it a go. I'll call him up and I'll say, can we come and try staying at yours for a couple of nights?" So I thought it was good. I'll come on my own, just me, because Arthur's back with his mum now, and I've just arranged to come. So it's Friday. I'm staying Friday night, Saturday, and then Saturday night, and I need to shoot off early on Sunday morning anyway to go to Dan's workshop to get the next series of work done. So it's a good way to test it out. I've been able to spend a bit more time with him today. I've asked how I can start helping out, and got a couple of jobs I'm going to do. Bit of watering some of the plants that are in pots that he's not planted just yet, because he's basically, this area was a waste ground pretty much, and it really is becoming a bit of a haven. There's a beautiful green grass area here where he's planting all and roses and bulbs and all this sort of stuff all around. Nice fencing going up. There's buildings being built. There's what looks like an orchard area. There's a cesspit going in. All this sort of stuff. So it doesn't look like this, but in my head, if I take a romantic view of where we are now, it reminds me a bit of an amazing film called Children of Men. And they're driving through the middle of nowhere, and I actually totally forget the detail, but they managed to find this guy, or maybe they already know him and they know where to go. But anyway, they managed to find this guy that is growing this amazing weed pot, and they move this huge bush in front of a hedge, and then that's the entrance to his drive and all that sort of stuff. And in the end, it all kicks off. At that point, it's like he's got this haven out of the way that you wouldn't know about. So that's my romantic view of where I am today. But anyway, he was here doing some work, and he's left. He doesn't live here. He's only here occasionally. So yeah, it's a good way to sample if it's going to be okay to stay here. So the good thing is I'm not near. There is a road, and that's in the background, but I'm not next to a road. So I'm hoping it's a quieter place to sleep. It's a nice spot, ultimately. So that's me trying it out, and then I said to Arthur, if I think it's okay, then I'll ask the guy if we can come back for a few days when Arthur and I are together. And the nice thing with Arthur is talk to him. I don't go in with leading questions to try and get the answer I want. I try and ask a question that allows Arthur to answer it any way he wants. And basically, he really loves our adventures. He calls them everyday adventures, where I pick him up from school, or we meet each other after school, and then we're like, what shall we do? So I said, why don't we just stay here for a couple of days in the week? So we would absolutely still go off and do our adventures at the weekend. We'll have a couple of nights worth of adventures during the week, but also a couple of nights of coming here nice and easy, basically. So we'll see. So that's in the interest of not planning too much in the future and taking one step at a time. That's basically where I am at the moment. Dropped down a fair bit again, actually. We're probably on the threshold of the leisure battery and getting to about 5 degrees C, which is where I'd need to turn on the engine to warm up the leisure battery. I forget what it goes to, but I think it might go to 10 or 15 degrees C, as long as it doesn't get colder than 5 degrees C when I turn on the engine. So I was just getting this thing here, basically, which is the blanket that I can wear, that I've worn in some other videos, that my mum bought me as like a shrewd move. I just wanted to show you, basically, but it's such a good idea, because I don't need more blankets, ultimately. It's of the sort of material that if you're going to spend time in a motorhome or a camper, then it really does help you to retain the heat. And if you remember from any of the other videos, as I'm furiously turning it around, it's one with arms. So I basically can I can wear the blanket. It's well cozy, and it's very clever, because then I've got it on and it's obviously in front of me. But the purpose of showing this is basically, I haven't been using this the last few nights. Instantly, actually, I'm a lot warmer. I haven't used this the last few nights. It's been just generally a decent amount warmer. But this draped over my sleeping bag is kind of all I need, really. I've got my long johns on, so you notice I'm back in my long johns. So yeah, this is perfect. And then I've got the purchase that accompanied this blanket was these slippers. So the slippers I was using, I've given those to charity. I dropped them off into Oxfam this week on Pershore High Street, as well as a small shovel, a trowel. So yeah, we should be set, basically. The only thing I'm not sure about here, and this is consideration whenever I park, is if I'm here in the daytime, and especially if I'm working where I need to use electricity, is this location going to work in terms of having enough sunlight on my solar panels to keep the leisure battery topped up? Because it's really nicely kind of secluded here, but that's a problem for solar. But I think I can drive around the plot further and park in a certain way to capture the sunlight, and I might need to move a few times through the day. But that again, this is the thing, isn't it? It's not as easy as wandering back to a house that's in a fixed position. But also that's the beauty of it. I can be mobile in terms of making sure I'm moving the motorhome to get the very best sunlight, because basically the solar panels, there's one flat on the back, and then the other two bigger solar panels wrap around the hoop. So if the sun's coming from the back, that's the absolute best angle. So yeah, that's something, that's a consideration. The other things I would think about when I'm parking is their 4G, because I want to hotspot my phone. I recently did a change. Now, when I used to run a business and I ran it using an EE mobile broadband router, I actually did buy and subscribe to the EE, it's 5G, which is 5GEE, something like that. But it's basically EE's 5G and 4G mobile broadband router, which you do need to plug in. So that's what I had at first, but then when I started to get into trying to reduce the amount of amps that I'm using and trying to limit electricity and all this sort of stuff, it worked out that was a stupid idea because it needs to be plugged in all the time. And then I had a Huawei, that's the right pronunciation, hotspot, just the actual really small, just a hotspot. And I had my mobile phone and then the hotspot separate. And then I was thinking, when I hotspot my mobile phone, that's as good as the hotspot. And then it was pretty much as good as the 5G, 4G router. So now the benefit of the 5G, 4G router is I could have plugged in an external aerial, but I didn't. And to be honest, I'm probably not going to do that. I'd find hotspotting my mobile is just as good. And the good thing with the mobile phone, the signal strength, it updates really quickly. So you can find a good spot to leave the mobile phone, hotspot it, and I'd connect to my laptop to that. I suppose if you're connecting an office or a household of people with loads of devices, you probably want the proper plug-in router, but I don't need that. So in the end, I've cancelled the contract that I was paying, that I was using for the router and the hotspot, and then I've switched my mobile phone contract to unlimited. The good thing is it's ready to be 5G. It's just my phone is only 4G, so I've got a bit going on with the bank account I've set up Arthur with to get the app. I need to upgrade his phone, so I'm thinking that Arthur can have my current phone, so he'll get what he needs. His current phone is a really old one that is only 3G, so it was a bit of fun to get him started with WhatsApp when he's not with one of us, so he can keep in contact if he wants to. So at least he'd get my phone, so we'd be able to make calls because it's 4G. Be able to use the Starling banking app, and then I'd look to upgrade my phone, because when there is 5G, it is significantly quicker than 4G. So to be out and about, that would be pretty handy. That would also give me more flexibility on places I can park and hotspot my phone. Now, obviously, if I'm somewhere where there is no 4G, or when I can do it 5G, I've got the Starlink, but that really does use quite a chunk of battery, so that's not something to be using all the time unless it was super sunny, and then the solar panels are going to deliver enough amps into the battery at the same time as the Starlink using those amps. So that's that. I think, yeah, the other thing that's going to be an addition to the motorhome is a digital piano. The I'm getting not a full size one, but a 61 key, and I've decided to have lessons again. I was never very good the last time, and the trouble is, all I did was learn a few songs, which I saw a piano a few weeks back when Arthur and I were travelling back from my mum's in Scotland, and Arthur's like, "Oh, you could play," and I was like, "Do you know what? I can't remember. I know the songs I was able to play, but I can't remember. Like, how did I start off? What chord was it, or key was it, or anything like that?" So this time I'm having to go at properly learning the instrument, so that I can take my grades, so that I can have a proper foundation of music, so that I can be a bit more of a lifelong skill. And I figure, won't it be cool if I'm out in the middle of nowhere? Ideally, I try and stay off digital devices when I'm out on my own, so I have a bit of a cleanse from that, and that means I have more time on my hands because I'm not sat on my arse watching loads of box sets and things like that. Pretty cool to be able to learn the piano. So yeah, I had my first lesson this week, yesterday, and got things to be learning. And the bonus is the lovely office space that I rent in Pershore called The Barn. The guy that runs that building, he's actually a branding agency, and he rents out some desks within his branding agency. It's a great idea, beautiful building, lovely guy, really very similar values about impact on the planet and being kind to our future and all that sort of stuff. So it's nice, always nice going in to see Michael. But there's a piano in the office, so that's a bit handy, and he very kindly today offered that I can use it to tinker along on if I need any practice. So that's all cool. And what else? I suppose the other thing when I'm on my own in the motorhome is that I generally eat pretty simply, and I eat a lot more whole foods. I might often just get out a carrot and add it to my plate, just eat a carrot like Bugs Bunny. But I like that. Arthur's really amazing with food. He really is very good. He craves olives, he loves pickles. He's really got a very advanced palate, and it's fantastic, and he does eat very good organic whole foods, but I can push it a bit further with me. So it does make it easier for me to cook, because I'd also cook things that are much more plain, but then add cayenne pepper or sriracha or other kind of hot spices to really give food flavour that Arthur wouldn't really want to put on. So I'm much more into lentils and stuff like that if I'm on my own. So that's probably the consideration of if I'm on my own versus being a dad with my son, what we might do for food. And I'm trying to think what else. I think that's probably it for today. Might be a bit more over the weekend, because this next phase of work with Dan is finding out why the electric heater has broken, which it definitely has broken, because we were parked at a campsite yesterday and plugged in because the toilet was full. So when the toilet's full, that's when I pay to go and park at a campsite, plug in water, all that sort of stuff. At the moment, still not filling up the onboard tank with water, because there's a chance that it could be freezing days all the way through to the end of April, really, and we're only not even in February. So I don't want to fill up the onboard tank just yet, and I kind of don't want to. I like that my water is wild. It's not been sterilised with horrible chemicals. It's not been pumped under massive amounts of pressure and used loads of energy and pollution to pump it to a tap. But at the same time, if we're paying to be at a campsite, it's a fairly quick job. It's 70 litres of water that we can carry on board. It's quite nice to be able to use the taps again. But again, it's okay not, because we're used to it. So it means when I go into a building, like into the shared office, I'm almost like, wow, we've got water and a flushing toilet. It's amazing. But it is lovely to hear Arthur's gratitude. Like, I can almost guarantee we'd fill up the tank, and then the first day he's able to turn on the taps and get water out, he'd be like, "Daddy, wow, we've got water." Like, how cool is that? To appreciate something that people don't even consider it, but it's literally the second most important thing in our life. Oxygen, then water, and most of us take water for granted, but we don't, because we think it's precious, because it is for us. What else? So that's probably it. I don't think there's anything else to say. Yeah, that's it for this one, and check back for the next one.